Alright, this I was not expecting, but I suppose it makes sense to not just use, like, one story element, the becoming a divine dragon thing, just once, and that's it for the sake of plot convenience. Like, I feel like whenever you have, like, a big mechanic in a plot out of nowhere, and just use it once, it's like, yeah, that was just plot convenience for the one thing. But when you do it 2 times, it's like, okay, now it's definitely a lot more important, and to use it for the finale, that's pretty cool. But how the heck do I play this? Wait, hold on. So wait, it's inverted controls. I believe here. Oh no. Okay, I'm not controlling it at all. So, okay. I think I go this way. This is, yeah, not what I was expecting, but interesting. Okay, just like Colgera again. It is neat that, once again, the battle is outside, like Breath of the Wild, but it's in the sky this time. I like that. So do I land on your head? Hi! What? What? Well, apparently I don't land on your head. I can just chill on you, apart from the fact that there's gloom and stuff. Just dive into your mouth or something? I don't know here. Well. So that. At least my hearts are coming back. Sucks not being able to gust. Okay. I do like the use of the leitmotif here at the end. Just wish it was more present throughout the actual adventure. Much like Breath of the Wild, my complaint about the final boss theme there. Similar kind of deal. Cool to have the leitmotif at the end, just wish it was more present during the actual adventure. Okay. Am I gonna need a ride? I'm probably gonna need a ride. Yeah. So... Okay. Okay, handy. I see. And then I can dive off again. Yep. I get ya. Music is definitely pretty cool. Let's see here. This way we go. No arrows of light this time. Do I have to smack him with a master sword, or should I just... Well, probably a little bit far. Oh yeah, I'm definitely very far here. Okay, Just little smidges. So, like... Okay, well... Okay. I get you. So I should probably just let myself fall here. I'll be caught? Yep. Probably. That would be a yes. I get you. Alright. Okay. Okay. This way we go. Whoa. Yeah, let's just home in. And head right towards the thingamabob. Dragon. Yeah, he still looks all evil and stuff. Evil! Whoa. Get me in here. And we smack it. And I wonder if I can just go straight. Nope, that's not happening. If I just don't deploy my glider and let myself fall. How well does the pathfinding on this work? Oh. I think the game's a little bit confused because I'm just in free fall. Well, what happens? Oh, okay. If you get to a certain point, it's just that. The game got a little bit confused, you know. I getcha. Well, so the pathfinding over to me isn't perfect, doesn't account for all falling situations, but it's still generally pretty good. Now I know. I should have gone over some more first. That's what I should have done. And now I know. Larg. Larg. But yeah, I honestly preferred the prior battles. Just like in Breath of the Wild, I much preferred the first phase compared to the second Thingamabob. It was a lot more mindless in Breath of the Wild, going up against Dark Beast Ganon, just like shooting some targets and there being almost no risk of hitting you. This seems like a little bit more active engagement, so from that perspective, I do appreciate the improvements over the final boss compared to last time. It still seems like more tedious than difficult, but it seems like it's a final boss phase that's built off of like the novelty of the spectacle. And that, it seems like it does pretty well there. But yeah. Well, I mean, the pathfinding should account for various falling situations there. You can't just say that it works perfectly only in this one specific situation, because that then implies that it doesn't work perfectly. Alright. Yeah, do that. Yeah, that seems to do okay. Yeah, try to get to this position this time. Is a bit better. Yeah, would have really helped me if I could use the gusts here. I am tempted to just land here before you take off and then run over. Though I guess it wouldn't be as efficient considering gliding is like 30% faster. That's the case, so as slow as it feels, it's gotta commit to this. That's what I better do. What are you even blarging at anymore? Oh yeah, I guess I do have some of those in my pocket, but ah well. I know by now that I can't do it, but I still kind of want to anyway. Okay. Down we go. Need to get another run through. Okay, thank you for the lift. I appreciate it. Okay, where are you at? There you at. Yeah, maybe. He's just kind of blarging around. But yeah, I honestly thought that he was assuming the Calamity Ganon form for a second there. With like the initial shadowy form that he took. Well, I thought for a hot second. Now he's a divine dragon. Hi! Ah! Well. I could have sworn I pressed deploy the glider. Somehow I didn't take any fall damage, but alright. So ow! 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 That was rude, wasn't it? Yeah, I do very much enjoy the use of the light motif. Just wish that actually existed during the adventure. A lot of my complaints that I had with Breath of the Wild have been the exact same way here. Oh my goodness, the Blood Moon. I feel like this is cooler than the last game, though. Like, my goodness. This is pretty darn cool, not gonna lie. I see now. Okay, just wait for him to stop moving. Can I just, yeah, move around here? Oh, it's hard to see. Okay. I see, I get you. Let's move in. I don't know why, but I feel like it looks almost derpy from here. It's just like, who's this small child plummeting towards me? I guess I'll blarg at him. Oh, that didn't work. Is he gonna stab my head? I sure hope he doesn't, because that would be very rude. Dang it, he did. Why'd he do that? What? Oh! At first I thought I had to mash. So the Master Sword went from Zelda's head to Ganon's. I see we're pulling a Wind Waker here. We nuked Ganondorf. We'll destroy Ganondorf. I don't know why, but I just find that funny at the end. I love how I still have my evil pants. Dive to Zelda, hold R. Well, I guess that's what I'm doing. If I just dive into like some random puddle, something somewhere. It's like, yeah, this seems like a great time to go for a swim. Oh, Zelda's lullaby there. Cool use of the leitmotif. Hi. Am I not here? Reach. And then the Legend of Zelda leitmotif. Grab hold.
How are you? I was... We reached you, after all. He's gone. The Demon King. I'm not in a dream, right? You did it. Oh, Link, you really did it. But how am I... No, I understand. I had been sleeping all this time. When I felt something, like a warm, loving embrace, I woke up. Thank you. Link, I met such wonderful people. I saw Hyrule as it was. I have so much to tell you. So much happened. Oh, Link, I'm home.
And then we get the final complete there. And I guess that's it. We have concluded another adventure. The Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom. Yeah, so it's gonna show that. Alright. Yeah, that was it then. But yeah. And yeah, I guess wow, loose hair here, what the heck? Yeah, that was one heck of a video game right there. I do have to say that I quite enjoyed it. I mean, same as Breath of the Wild, but much like Breath of the Wild, a lot of my complaints are, the same. That's definitely the case. What kind of stuff do I want to cover here first? I guess we can first talk about the story. So, my biggest complaint in Breath of the Wild, in regards to the story, is there was almost no story within the present of the game itself. The story within the present of the game itself was, wake up, go beat up Ganon, save the kingdom, and optionally get some divine beasts if you want, free some champion spirits, optionally. But, pretty much just wake up and go beat up Ganon there. So, the majority of the story in Breath of the Wild is a story that already happened, and you just had to go around the world hearing about the story that already happened, was the case. Figure out what exactly occurred, how things came to be there, and you just went around searching for these memories based off of the pictures that were basically just like Spark Notes chapter summaries, rather than actually being able to experience a story yourself. You never moved the story forward through gameplay, apart from defeating Ganon at the very end. You just hear about a story that already happened. Which was really disappointing, considering there were some really fascinating aspects of the story, like Zelda's character arc I found really interesting, and it makes me really glad that Age of Calamity exists, because then you actually get to move the story forward yourself and actually experience it firsthand instead of just hearing about it, But that was one of my biggest complaints with Breath of the Wild. So, yeah, essentially, that's what it was there. In Tears of the Kingdom, I was like, alright, so they're making a sequel to Breath of the Wild. That means that this time, they can't just tell a story that already happened again. They need to actually find a way to move the story forward through this game, right? So I was looking forward to it and being like, yeah, that problem I had with Breath of the Wild, it's gotta be fixed. Somehow, Palpatine returned. I mean, as they somehow managed to find another way to tell a story that already happened. I'm still stunned about that. Like, I still cannot believe that they once again found a way to tell a story that already happened. Well, with Zelda going to the past and you uncovering that. You know, I really, really wish that there was more of a story that we were moving forward through the present within the game here. But, you know, it is what it is. I will say, though, the story of the past and uncovering the memories, I did enjoy more in this game than in Breath of the Wild. For one, this delves in a little bit into gameplay, but in Breath of the Wild, it was, you know, finding pictures, where it's like, find the area that looks like that, and, you know, you pretty much have to Google it. You know, unless you really, really want to search the entire world looking for things that looked roughly like every single picture. Like, it's just not feasible. This game made it a lot more feasible with, here's the glyphs around the world. If you do that quest with Impa, you'll be able to see the map where roughly all of them are in the world, so that you don't have to worry about where they are. And because they're massive glyphs spanning the land there, you can usually see them from afar and be like, ah, there! You know, you can easily spot and then head over and then do what is essentially the little mini-game side activity of finding where exactly the tier is on it, which might involve going up into the sky a bit and, you know, figuring out where that is, or just running around the whole thing. So it was like a little bit of a task to it instead of just like, here's pictures, good luck, you know, was the case. So gameplay wise, the finding the memories here was definitely a lot more satisfying. And in I definitely liked the purpose that it served in this story a lot more than in Breath of the Wild. In Breath of the Wild, it was more like, here's the circumstances that led up to this. You know, if you're curious to know. It's not really necessary, but if you're curious to know. In this game, it actually served a purpose of uncovering the mystery that you needed to do as part of the main quest. Like figuring out, where the heck is Ganon? Where the heck is Zelda? Where's the Master Sword? So, the, collecting the memories in this, the tiers there, were helping you piece together that mystery and start getting an idea of what might have happened. And I realized later on, after getting the answer of where Zelda was, or after the Great Deku Tree told me where the Master Sword was, that, wait a second, I probably could have put these pieces together earlier if I had really thought about it. So while Breath of the Wild was more of, you know, if you're curious to know what led up to this point, here's what already happened. This game, it actually felt like it did play into the main story and your main objective a lot more by piecing together the mystery, and I quite like that. Of course, you could have always just gone to Google or something like that and gotten all the answers that way and not needed those. But if you stayed clear of that like I did and were just, you know, going into things completely blind, you would essentially be piecing together the mystery that actually progresses the game. Like, the moment that I was able to go and get the Master Sword there after progressing some of the plot line, it's like, huh, okay, neat. Or when I figuring out where Zelda was, it's like, oh, that makes sense now. You know, I didn't really have one of those aha moments when I was playing Breath of the Wild, so I very much preferred the purpose that the Memories of the Past had in this game, in my opinion there. So, yeah, there was that. The story within the, this is kind of a mix between story and gameplay, this aspect here. But when it came to the companions in Breath of the Wild, I could barely even remember them. Like, nowadays, after, you know, my experience in these games, I remember them. But, you know, in the past, I probably, after my first playthrough, I probably would have remembered the name for, Riju and Sidon. I would not have remembered the name for Yunobo or Teba. You know, I definitely would not have. Because you just kind of meet them, they help you get into the dungeon, and then it's like, well, bye! You know, they don't really play that active a part in the story. And this game, it felt like the companions played a lot more active part in both the story and in gameplay itself, and that's something that I really appreciated. It wasn't just like, oh, here, we'll see you off to the dungeon, give you a little bit of an Uber there, and then see you later. They were actually continuing to be present. You accompany them throughout the dungeon and then face the boss at the end of the dungeon alongside them, rather than them just being, you know, somewhat forgotten about afterwards. That's something that I very much appreciated. So that was really cool there. Them playing a lot more of an active role and then having their spirits that come with you and then them actually fighting alongside you at the end. Like in Breath of the Wild, the champion spirits that you freed is just like, yes, let's fire this big laser once, and then you're not gonna see us until like after the credits where we fade out, and that's it. They didn't really play all that active of a part. Here, the companions actually played like a very strong part. So that was a change that I very much appreciate in this game. Anything else to mention in the story? I guess the overall story, I found it intriguing, but it wasn't, you know, like stellar. It wasn't, I still think my favorite Legend of Zelda story is probably Skyward Sword. But, you know, there was definitely some intriguing parts of this story. My favorite part being just like figuring out, you know, the mystery, putting the pieces together and stuff. I do find that satisfying. But overall, in terms of like overall story, it's just like, okay, that was pretty all right, but not, you know, out of this world kind of thing or anything like that. But yeah, it was enjoyable. The characters were fun as always in Zelda games. You know, the characters very much help make the world and the story, and they're appreciated. Is that all my stuff for the story? Maybe. I don't know. Move on to the music. When this game wants to go hard on music, it can go hard. Like, listen to the music right now. I'm pretty sure this is one of the trailer themes. But much like Breath of the Wild, it's the music isn't very present in the game. You know, especially as you're exploring around. It's still back to the somebody playing piano for the first time as they're like, here's a note, here's a couple notes, let's think about it. Here's another note. Yeah, this is called the main theme, but just like Breath of the Wild, it only really exists in the trailer and here in the end. You know, the best way to handle a leitmotif or a main theme is to actually have it be present throughout the journey, so that when it comes in full swing at the end, it serves as a musical reminder of your journey up to that point and serves as like a great finale there that musically symbolizes this is the finale of the journey, instead of like to remind you of the journey that you've had up to that point, instead of just reminding you, huh, that was a cool trailer when this got announced, you know? So I really wish that the main theme had a little bit more of an active presence. Not to say that this game didn't have leitmotifs throughout it. Like, there were definitely some cases of recurring leitmotifs, like the, you know, the Mipha / Sidon theme playing with stuff related to them. Or the Life in Ruins theme from one of the early Breath of the Wild trailers that later became Daruk's theme, playing in the Fire Temple along with Yunobo. Like, I'll pick up on stuff like that. But, you know, it's not exactly very noticeable, and there isn't that much of a impact of the main theme within the soundtrack. I have no doubt that there were probably some places that it did exist within the main soundtrack. Like, there was the same with Breath of the Wild. It wasn't just in the finale. But it's just barely noticeable anywhere else.
I can't believe such an impressive landmass can float in the sky. Just when I thought I'd started to figure the Zonai out.
Everyone, I am glad I was able to bring you all here. I wanted to share this view of Hyrule with all of you.
Whoa. I've never been this far up before, Goro.
Wow, what a sight it is. And Zelda, you were roaming the skies all along?
Yes, although I don't really remember. I never thought I would actually stand here again.
This is only a theory, but Raru's power of light and Sonia's time power. For Zelda to transform back, they both must have channeled their abilities through you, Link.
I see.
Now it seems it is my time.
Minoru!
Do not worry. You have overcome the burden my era left to you. You have proven yourself, and you no longer need me. I know I can move on, join Raru and the others, and the world will be safe.
Those of us gathered here swear on our lives to support Princess Zelda and... Oh. To support Princess Zelda and safeguard the land of Hyrule.
Ravu and Sonia will be happy to hear of this.
But Minoru...
And I'll let them know just how much you care. Thank you all.
King Rauru, Queen Sonia, Minoru. The ancient sages. They wished not only to save Hyrule from the Demon King, but for it to see eternal peace. I will dedicate myself to that goal. Now, and for all time. My friends, with all of your strength, stand with me.
Yeah, when it comes to using recurring tunes, leitmotifs, when Legend of Zelda really wants to do it, it can hit it out of the park. Like we saw in that last cutscene after the credits there. When it really wants to use its leitmotifs, it can go ham on them. So I guess that was from my last save was here? Was that just before facing Ganon there? Well, it's while I'm here. I guess it was a little while since I saved there, but anyway. When it wants to, it can really hit it out of the park. It just sucks that it's usually at pretty much just the beginning and end and not really much in between, you know, is the case. Like, the quote-unquote main theme of Breath of the Wild existed in the trailer, the final boss, and like very faintly in some of the memory cutscenes, barely noticeable. So, it doesn't really become representative of your adventure. It becomes representative by the end of mostly the trailer. Maybe I'll remember a little bit of the memories potentially, but you know, if that, it's mostly representative of the trailer at that point because you haven't made it mean anything significant within your adventure. And that seemed to be the kind of case here. Like the main theme of Tears of the Kingdom is great. It absolutely slaps. But it just doesn't really exist in the game. You know? It exists in the trailer. probably faintly in some places I didn't even notice. Like, I didn't even notice the main theme of Breath of the Wild existed faintly in some memory cutscenes until I started really delving into the soundtrack for the sake of my video essay on it that I did a while back, that 3-hour video essay. But, you know, so I'm sure that the main theme of this exists faintly in some, you know, of the memories and stuff as well. But I just wouldn't really have noticed, and probably wouldn't unless I really scrutinized the soundtrack. I feel like if you're gonna have a main theme that does come in at the end for a final boss to be an absolutely epic finale, you should have it be present throughout the journey leading up to that point, so by the time that you hear it during the final boss, it means something about that adventure instead of just meaning something about the trailer that you saw that was cool. You know, it's kind of the way that I feel about that. This game did absolutely have at times where the soundtrack would absolutely slap, and some really great uses of leitmotifs and recurring tunes. I think my favorite boss battle theme was Colgera, the first boss that I went after there. Like, my goodness, that was a cool theme. That was pretty darn awesome. Made me wish that all the boss themes were like that. You know, would have been really darn neato. Like, maybe I'll review some of the soundtrack sometime later and decide how I feel about it completely at that point. But gameplay-wise, in the heat of the gameplay, the only boss theme that really stood out to me as holy crap was the Colgera theme, and like the final phase against Ganon there, where it's like, huh, it's that theme that slaps that appeared in the trailer, and I wish was more in the game there. So yeah, and of course, just like Breath of the Wild, whenever we're in like a main place like this, there'll be music playing, and it's always, you know, pleasant and pretty neat, but not the kind of thing that I'm gonna be listening to ever outside of game for any reason, you know. But it is alright, it gets the job done, is pretty alright. But yeah, still a lot of my same complaint sentiments when it came to Breath of the Wild there, that I really wish that they would have changed after the last game, but I guess they feel like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So yeah, there's music stuff. Art style, you know, it's the same as Breath of the Wild there. I find it really charming. I guess the only real thing to talk about then that's different from Breath of the Wild is the, you know, the things that are new to this game. Like the Zonai. I thought they were really cool. Both, I'm stumbling on my words there. Both Rauru and Minoru, really darn cool. Considering the kind of direction that they went with the Zonai, it's absolutely a design where it's like, huh, they could have really screwed this up really badly. But I feel like they did a pretty good job. It made them really charming. Or Ganondorf, for example, he was pretty darn cool. Oh, I guess that's one thing to mention about the story that I could mention. I wish that Ganondorf had more of a presence. You know, he, basically beginning and end, and you see him a couple times in, you know, some of the memories and stuff. Like, my goodness, some of those memory cutscenes, like when Ganondorf Falcon punches Sonya in the back, and that expression of his, like, so vivid. I mean, you know, the expressions in Breath of the Wild were really vivid during the cutscenes as well. But, you know, seeing this Matt Mersendorf that's with doing these vivid expressions and in these crazy cutscenes, maybe really wish that there was more of it in the like within the actual game, and that he felt like more of a threat as opposed to just like, I nearly killed Link, here's all the stuff into the sky, now where's Waldo? You know, pretty much there. Yeah, he was just chilling in his hot tub and just like, man, things suck. Like, they stopped me all those years ago. I'm gonna do it now. You're gonna stand up to me? You don't seem like all that much. This sucks. I wish I had more of a worthy opponent. Darn it. Why is my life so hard? You know? Like, I was fully expecting this Matt Mersendorf, especially from what I saw in the trailers there, to be like, oh my goodness, this feels like such an insane threat, you know? My goodness gracious. And honestly, when it comes to voice acting and stuff, if I haven't mentioned voice acting yet, the voice acting of this game was great. And I love Matt Mercer as a voice actor there. He hit it out of the park as Ganondorf, but, you know, he didn't really get all that much of a chance as him, because he wasn't really around all that much, you know? I would have loved to have seen some more Matt Mersendorf, you know? Or like, when you're going and doing one of the temples or something like that, maybe in one of them, maybe two of them, he'll just show up and be like, ah, I'm gonna do this thing to screw with you so you don't interfere with me, or something like that. Just some way that the villain's a little bit more present. I would have loved to see that, to feel like a little bit more of an active threat. He did feel pretty threatening in the beginning, considering he literally broke the Master Sword, which we've never seen happen in the series before. He's like, that's a sword that seals the darkness? Such a fragile blade would not save you from me. Like, that kind of thing is like, whoa, he feels like a threat. That's crazy. Like, he's established to be really powerful there. But then we just never see him again until the end. And then he's just like, oh man, you're not gonna stand up to me all that much. And then like 5 minutes later, he's just like, ah, gosh dang it, I gotta do whatever it takes to defeat you even if I lose my humanity, and then turns into a dragon. And it's like, man, we didn't really get to explore the dynamic between Ganondorf and Link at all, you know? I think that would have been really fascinating to explore, but we didn't really get it. Would have been really neato. Could have been a lot more present there. But yeah, or just like taunt him or something like that. Yeah, do something like that with game over. Imagine. But yeah, like he felt very threatening in the beginning. This game had a very strong start with that, where it's like, holy crap, that was insane. But then, you know, he just was a little bit of a cakewalk there. You know, I struggled a little bit on the first attempt there. On the second attempt, I made all those, you know, gloom meal thingamabobs. I didn't even really need that many. I used like 1 or 2 or something, right? I don't remember. You know, he wasn't too threatening. It's kind of like Calamity Ganon in Phase 1, where it's like, once you start to get an idea of the patterns, or even if you don't have that much of an idea of the patterns, as long as you're blocking, it's not that big a deal, you know? So, and the fact that he didn't really react during the battle much at all until, you know, you destroyed him at then there, and he's like, well, time to become a dragon. Like, that felt a little bit anticlimactic. The dragon battle at the end was really cool. But, you know, Ganondorf himself, I wish that he was more of an active threat throughout. I mean, gameplay and UI-wise, one really cool thing that had nothing to do with the cutscenes, well, I guess you could say story, more of a UI thing. When his health bar went from there all the way to the edge of the screen, that was cool. That was a moment of shock value where it's like, what? You know, it's like, this is what I'm playing now? That was cool. I liked that. You know, that was some Undertale crap right there. I approved. That, I like that touch. And anyway, the thing that got me to that, the general art style. This iteration of Ganondorf was pretty darn cool. The, like, both the dried out Ganondorf of like, who is this figure that seems so powerful? Then like the normal Ganondorf where it's like, whoa, that's pretty cool. Also, he's so hot. And then the phase where he's all like evil and got like the drapey kind of red hair and drapey clothes and stuff like that. That's cool. I liked that. That was pretty darn neato there. The dragons of both Ganon and Zelda, they were pretty cool. I approved of that. And thinking about the dragon Zelda there, things like the scene of pulling out the Master Sword, the use of colors around with that, like really charming, really cool, you know? But yeah, not sure you like the Fire Emblem trope of characters transforming into dragons in this game, but do appreciate that dragons, which are mere distraction in Breath of the Wild, were given a lower significance. Yeah, it actually means something now. And it begs the question of, the dragons around here, did they, you know, do some secret stone munching? Did they pull a Gordon Ramsay looking at a secret stone and say, finally, some good fucking food, you know? Is that what ended up happening there? And the fact that you could have gone and grabbed the Master Sword from a dragon at literally any point, once you know, gather enough memories and put the pieces together, or just take the easy way out and Google it. That's pretty cool. Yeah, it would have been neat to see the 3 dragons in some way. Like maybe when Ganondorf is being defeated with like the final blow or something like that, they come in and do stuff. That would have been cool to see, but alas, you know, is the case. Yeah, I remember that one side quest there where you can help one of them out. That I remember, but yeah, not really much lore significance there. I guess there was also some aspects like moving some things forward from Breath of the Wild, like I guess purifying figured out the fixing herself there, and then back to aging normally, and it's like, huh, that's pretty cool. Can't approve of that. You know, Tulin growing up a bit and him becoming the new companion and stuff. I thought that was pretty neat. You know, some aspects like that, where you see the progression. That kind of thing I liked when it came up in, you know, the instances that it did. Anything else to mention about art style? I wish that there was more different armor. There is some new armor, like this stuff that I guess you can't even upgrade. The glowing stuff, you know, some things for some other uses. But for the most part, it seems to be mostly just the same equipment that we saw in Breath of the Wild. Like, I know that there's new things, but it seems like probably more than 90% just stuff that we had in the last game. It would have been really cool to see new things. Or even, like, new designs of old things. You know, like these thingamabobs, like Flamebreaker armor. Let's get a new design going for that. Rubber armor, let's get a new design. You know, stuff like that would have been really cool. Like, Zora armor makes sense to stay the same, because story-wise stuff. But, generally speaking, it would have been, or like a new kind of soldier's armor for like a different class of soldier rather than the exact same thing. That would have been really cool. But, you know, we're stuck with the same kinds of things there. Would have been neat to see some more variety there, some new stuff there. What's one interesting critique you've heard is that the game could have done more to play off tensions between Riju and Ganondorf? What, because of like the Gerudo connection? I guess? Could have been interesting there, but, I would have just liked to see more tensions between Ganondorf and, you know, Link, you know, is the, case. So nice soldier armor. Okay, well, then there's that at least, somewhere out in the world. Is that everything about art style that I wanted to mention? I like the gloom effects and stuff. I don't know why it's gloom now, why they didn't just go with malice. I guess malice didn't drain your maximum hearts, so I guess functionally they work a little bit different, but you know, could have just played off of the same thing, but it's not that big a deal. Anything else about art style? I like the new enemies and stuff. Like the crazy frogs down in the depths. Like those big dudos. The really big bokoblins and stuff in the overworld that I didn't actually fight a whole lot of. It would have been cool to see like more different enemies. The flying dudos that you have to shoot down and stuff, and the fact that they would airdrop some enemies. So I did like the fact that there were some more enemies, and even enemies behaving in ways that you hadn't seen before, like the battle taluses, for example. Like, I found in Breath of the Wild the taluses to be pretty underwhelming a lot of the time, but now put like a little mini fortress on them with a bunch of bokoblins, and it's like, whoa, now we're talking, you know? That I thought was pretty cool. Now I guess we're kind of transitioning into gameplay off of that, though. So, gameplay stuff. I've mentioned before how I feel like when you're making follow-ups or more games in a series, there's a good balance to strike between, like, the same thing that players have experienced before and new stuff, not just feeling exactly the same. And they could have absolutely just, you know, shipped out the exact same world with the exact same, like, Sheikah runes and stuff, and slightly different story, and by nature of being Zelda and sequel to Breath of the Wild, it would have still sold like hotcakes. But all the old powers are done away with, and you have a new set of things that are arguably even more busted. And it's like, alright, that's pretty cool there. On one hand, I would have liked to have had the old powers as well, like bomb runes and stuff like that if I need to harvest a bunch of wood. But, you know, it also helps give Breath of the Wild its own separate identity from Tears of the Kingdom, something that it has to its name that this game doesn't have, in that sense, to give them each a similar yet distinct feel. And that's pretty neat. And I never felt like my kit was lacking. I never felt like I needed any of those abilities from the last game. Like, the one that I missed the most was just bomb runes with, you know, blasting down trees without spending durability and stuff, but meh. I think that more could/should have been done to establish the demon dragon form as a threat, given that the difficulty does not quite match up to the implied insidious threat. I mean, that was the exact same thing with Breath of the Wild with Dark Beast Ganon at the end. I did feel like I did play a more active role in this final boss than the Breath of the Wild one, because the Breath of the Wild one, you could stand completely still, and he would have to very slowly turn over to you to release a very slow laser like that towards you. And if you just moved at like this speed at all times, he could just never hit you, because he'd only ever attack in a straight line based off of like your position when he initiated the attack. So if you move this speed, he literally could not damage you. It was the funniest thing, but man, was it disappointing as a final boss. So I was definitely glad that, you know, instead of just break the targets this time while slowly moving around the giant meandering pig, that there was more of an active role in this final boss and more of a spectacle behind it. But yeah, it could have felt like more of a challenge, and also some way to establish like the dragon form as some big threat there. Like, it was established that, you know, eat a secret stone and you become a divine dragon, but are divine dragons like uber powerful beings? We don't know what it's like to face one of them. I guess there was that one side quest in Breath of the Wild where you know, help one out there from the weird thing that's growing all over it or whatever the heck. But, you know, that wasn't exactly all that hard. There wasn't really much to establish them as a threat. They were just, you know, dragons that, kind of existed in the world and flew around and stuff. Kind of half expected Ganondorf to just be like, yeah, I'm gonna fly around the world going on aimless adventure now. You know? Imagine. But anyway, the powers here and stuff. Camera coming back is nice. Wait, what's the point of that? Oh yeah, just like weird filler there. Pulling a Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, just making it look like there's more stuff here than there is. Just two ways to do the exact same thing. That's a little bit silly. I guess I could talk about Ultra Hand first. My biggest complaint with this is I really wish it had more range. Well, I don't know why I'm trying to reach out when I haven't even grabbed anything. Is it a sword? No, well. I really wish that it had more range. Like, Magnesis had quite a bit of range. I know that it makes sense why the range of this is so limited. Like, you would have been able to break the game a whole lot more if you could reach things out farther. Especially with combination with the other powers. But man, like, the range just felt so measly at times. Wait, I guess I can test what the range is with these swords by just seeing how close I need to come before it lights up. Like, this would have probably been the range with Magnesis or something like that. Is my thing drifting? But this, you have to get to... There, you have to get pretty decently close. And honestly, in my head, I thought I needed to get even closer than that. But, you know, you can't really reach things out super duper far. Unless it is just the exact same as Magnesis range, and I'm losing my mind. Because that actually feels farther than I remember it being gameplay-wise. But yeah. A bit, but not a, you know, I feel like it still could have... I still have, like, basically the same complaints I did with the Breath of the Wild soundtrack. But if you had to ask me which one I preferred, it would be this one, yes. Would be the case. That was the thing that we talked about a little bit before, art style there. Was the case. I did generally like it, but... Yeah, anyway. Ultra Hand stuff. I wish it had more range. I wish that there was a way to rotate around the other axis. Like, I eventually got used to just having the two different axes of rotation, rather than all three. But it did take a little bit of, getting used to. Because if I grab something like this, and I want to rotate it, but I want to rotate it along the other kind of axis, I have to, you know, spin around, and then, you know, spin around, and, you know, I eventually got kind of used to it, but I do wish that, you know, there are other buttons available here. Just have it be, you know, like ZLZR or something like that at that point. There are other buttons available. Just give us the other axis of rotation. The sticking things together and making machines. My goodness gracious. The fact that this game works and doesn't just break the Switch itself in two is some next level programming magic. And the fact that this game was basically done, but they delayed it for a year to make sure that the physics actually worked, one, is completely understandable, and two, is a level of respect for the consumer that's not really seen that much in the industry nowadays. You know, the big kind of meta of being a AAA developer in the gaming industry nowadays is when it's pretty much done, ship it out. You know, we'll make bank off of this now, and then we can start working on the next project. If we need to put out an apology letter, we can put out an apology letter, you know. And people have made, like, collages of all the game studio apologies in the last several years. And to see a game that was going to be an easy, like, 10 out of 10 by game critics no matter what, just by nature of it existing, and then being like, yeah, the physics of this game is kind of super crazily complicated. Let's delay it for a year and make sure that it's working properly. That seems like such a foreign concept within the gaming industry nowadays. I wasn't all that happy about the $10 price increase, But taking an extra year to make sure that it works, it's like, I really can't be too upset about that, because it does feel more respectful to the consumer than disrespectful after, like, taking both those things into consideration, in my opinion. And I think that that's really cool. But yeah, finish now, fix layer, call it free update, yeah. Put out, like, the, well, what is it? The path? What's the thingamabob? Where people, the roadmap, that's what it is. Put out, like, the roadmap for, how they're gonna fix things, all the updates and stuff like that. Yeah, that's the way to go. But yeah, just the whole vehicle making, both Ultra Hand and, what, Rotten Luck? Both Ultra Hand and the auto build is like, wow, I can't believe that they pulled this off, you know? And the fact that so many things will just work, you know? Like, oftentimes with, one of the things I really liked about Breath of the Wild is that it rewarded creativity. Oftentimes, if you think that something can work, it can probably work. But Tears of the Kingdom just brought that to a whole new level with the vehicle creation. And the things that people have made have been absolutely out of this world. It's been really cool to see the past couple months, all that stuff going around online. It's really cool. This game rewards creativity to a whole new level. I've never played games like Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, but, you know, whenever I hear about people playing them, it's oftentimes like, it's okay. But, not anything all that crazy. But, man, the depth in this was really cool. I do wish that there were some other things that you could do. Like, I do wish that, you know, if one object was attached to these two other sets of multiple objects, that you could, you know, just detach it from one, but not the other, or something like that, just in case the alignment on one was really perfect already and you didn't want to screw it up. Or that you could attach one thing to multiple adjacent things that it's right attached to. Like, when I was putting together the schematic that I found for this thingamabob, that little head there is just attached to one of the fans, and it feels kind of odd, because it shoves right in there, right between the two. So I wish it could have been attached to both, but it's attached to one. You know, it did what it needed to do. And, you know, the things that you can make in this game are great. I love the building of this. This was really cool. I didn't go too in depth during my playthrough here, but it was good. And I really like the things you could build. Both Ultra Hand and Auto Build there were really darn cool. But yeah, can't believe this game didn't suffer memory leak with so many things to remember. Yeah, honestly. Seen one point made that you can use Ultra Hand, Recall, and Ascend in a combination on the same puzzle in a way that you could never do with the powers of Breath of the Wild. Yeah, when it came to the Breath of the Wild playthrough here, when I first played that game, I went and completed all the shrines in probably the intentional way. But when I played it on the channel here, I made it my goal to learn to break the game in two and try to do as few shrines as possible in the intended way. Even if it took me longer to, you know, clip through walls and use glitches and stuff like that, I would still try to do as many as I could in unconventional ways. And I was really disappointed when all the Breath of the Wild glitches were patched in this game, but I really did not need them to be able to do shrines in unintended ways. I feel like Ascend was the ability that at first I kept forgetting that I even had. Once I started getting accustomed to this is a thing in my kit, it started to become like second nature for me to factor into my plans and how I was going to break things in two. But yeah, the craziness with Ascend and Rewind. Okay, can I just say how impressive Rewind is? My goodness gracious, the fact that this game tracks the motion of all the non-alive entities around it so that you can turn it back in time. Like, my goodness, the amount of programming magic there. Like, the things that I'm most impressed by are Ultra Hand and Recall. My goodness gracious. The fact that it's constantly tracking that about everything and storing that in memory. Very impressive. Like, hats off to the developers. As someone that's very fascinated in, you know, game development, game design, stuff like that, this is an absolute programming masterclass, and I'm fascinated by it. It's so cool, you know? But yeah, the amount of things that you can break with them. Like, just lift something up with Ultra Hand, bring it down, Recall, either ride it up or just ascend through it when it's up there. You know, I recently watched a short video of somebody fighting multiple Lionels at once, and one of the things that I saw them do see if I can do it here, that I found really cool and creative, was a way to get bullet time by pulling out, I believe it was a portable pot, and then doing this. Whoops. Gosh dang it, hold on. I messed it up there. Hold on. I did this. Gosh dang, I just had it! Can I not get it anymore? Gosh dang it, and they ascended through, and then they backflipped, and then they flurry rushed. Nope. I don't know why I can't now. When I had it on the first try, but I accidentally canceled it. Gosh dang it. Get out of here, portable pot. Just like the amount of cool things that you can do. And the amount of different things that there are in here to make contraptions, you can tell that they were, you know, throwing all sorts of ideas at the wall, being like, huh, do we have anything that fits this function? Whoops. Do we have anything that fits this function? Anything that fits this function? And just like putting in all the things that they felt like would be necessary / cool. And like the kit that is here is really good. I really quite liked it there. Usually do it with a rock? Okay. What I saw in that one clip was someone doing it with a portable pot. But I thought it was pretty darn cool. I guess one complaint that I would have about the building things though is, why is there just like a limit on how much some things can be used? Like rockets make sense, at least. You know, like the quick burst right at the beginning, and the rockets actually feel like they have some serious oomph in this game, and I really like that. And then they're gonzo and they're spent up. But balloons and gliders? Really? I mean, the batteries also make sense too, but you know, it was just really annoying gliding up so high, and then it's just like the balloon gives out on you, or you're gliding and then you see the glider flashing. It's like, man, really? I have to prepare to fall and then land and then maybe make another amalgamation of a glider, and it was just kind of annoying, you know, and why I quite like that hover bike, because you don't have to worry about anything's there vanishing. But yeah, so I wish those things wouldn't vanish. I wish there was some more uses to a portable pot, but at the same time, I guess it makes sense. You know, you're gonna make some thing out in the field, and then encourage, you know, going to campfires at things like stables and stuff like that. But yeah, generally, the mechanics and stuff here were really darn cool. And of course, there's Fuse. The thingamabob about like, oh yeah, the weapons in the world, they're not as good now, they're rusted over, so find some ways to make them better. And then getting creative with fusing them. I thought that was kind of really cool. You know, at first I was kind of disappointed that some things went away, like, you know, the elemental weapons. But now it's just like, make your own elemental weapon in whatever way you feel like doing. You know, and the crazy combinations that you could do here. That was really cool. I quite liked it. Oh, I'm back to the red seal toy now. Heck yeah. You know, there were some really silly combinations that you could make. The really long weapons that, you know, literally go into the ground around you because they're so long and have such insane reach. It was so dumb. I loved it. You know, that was really cool there. The general weapon situation has, you know, some same problems as Breath of the Wild for me, where it's like you start saving your best weapons for, you know, some really crazy circumstances, but, you know, you might not run into crazy circumstances. I tried to be more on top of using my best weapons during boss battles in this game than I did in Breath of the Wild, like actually using some of the best things that I had on hand during the Gerudo dungeon there, for example, rather than using, you know, the most expendable stuff. So I try to be more responsible this time than the last adventure, but, you know, it's still very much like, I kind of want to save these, hold on to these, save these for a rainy day. And even if a rainy day does come around, it's like, you know, do I really want to use this here or save it for a time that I might really need it and then just end up never using it? And then because that's a slot that goes unchanged, that limits the amount of slots that are actually cycling what's in them, you know? And just puts you into a situation where by the end you're only cycling a few slots. Again, I was more responsible with it this time. And, you know, a lot more stuff in my inventory cycled, which, you know, was one, me trying to be more responsible, and two, just like the crazy stuff with the fusing that I feel like helped things along as well. But I feel like if I really tried to do like all the shrines in this game and really hold on to a lot of stuff and then therefore never really ran into much in the way of bosses again, my inventory top slots would just be filled with like these really good things, and then like only these last few slots are the things that change out with the stuff that I'm burning through, you know. It's is the case there. So I wish that there was something done about that. like maybe take a new handle on weapon durability or something like that. I don't know, man. I found the fusing cool. Weapon durability to me is still like, I don't know here. You know, I don't know how I feel about that. I think it would have been cool if you could fuse some things to bows, but it is nice that you can fuse anything to arrows. It is kind of strange no longer having multiple different arrow types that I can switch between, and not having things like ancient arrows, but the fact that you can fuse literally anything to it and, you know, try out different things and see what they do. I think that's kind of cool. Same with shields, but I never really did all that much shield fusing, just in case I ever wanted to shield surf, you know? I didn't want to take away my ability to shield surf there. I guess there's some things that you can fuse to improve shield surfing, but not a massive ton there. So I didn't experiment all that much with offensive capability stuff on fusing stuff to shields, but, you know, is an option there, and I think that that's pretty neat stuff. All the various monster materials to give you lots of different ammunition to shield, to fuse all sorts of things, I thought was pretty neat. I didn't really do it all that much, because there was often so many weapons all over the place, like more than I would fit in my inventory, that it was like, I may as well fuse weapons to other weapons. I never really felt all that much incentive to fuse monster parts onto weapons, just because it's like, hey, here's this weapon on the ground that I can have do nothing, or I can fuse it to one of my existing weapons. Whereas these will always be in my inventory to use whenever I want. So I feel like I didn't really have all that much incentive to fuse monster parts or try out things like this. Like, I was trying out some of the elemental monster parts towards the end there, but otherwise I, you know, didn't really feel like I had much reason to do that when there were so many weapons around and I could just fuse more weapons to weapons and stuff, you know? Was certainly the case there. But yeah, JR is there, but stays fuse object. Guess you just gotta find out what the right thing to fuse on is. Yeah, food works the same there. The companions. I was kind of mentioning during the story discussion, and I was about to say, do all the colors match up here? Like, colors match up, colors match up, colors match up. But then we have this, and it's like, man, these two should have been switched around there. Wait. This is the order that I did these in. Is that a coincidence, or is he... No, it's not the order I did it in because of Minoru here. I got you. Anyway, the abilities that you got in Breath of the Wild were interesting. Some were more useful than others. The fact that they will continue to... The fact that you get abilities that feel like they play a lot more of an active part, in a sense. Like, at least things like Tulins was the one to use the most. The other ones maybe not as much. Mostly just Tulins that I got really hooked on. But the fact that the dungeons were based around these abilities, where the companions came with you, and then you can keep that ability for the rest of the game, that was really cool. And the fact that they actually are present there with you, instead of just, as I mentioned earlier, dropping you off in front of the divine beast, and then see you later. The fact that they'll actually be around with you as you have this small private army and fight alongside you, that's cool. I like that. It did seem to have some frame problems, you know, we were noticing towards the end there. But generally speaking, the fact that they'll all come with you here and fight alongside you, it's like, okay, that's pretty cool. I like that. I approve. So I like the way that those were handled. This is annoying that they brought back, you know, the Korok seed hunt there and all that. Man. The way that they handled batteries, I think, is kind of cool. I wish there was an easier way to grind for them apart from, you know, my Cheaty Peach strats that I've been using. Maybe there is, and I just don't know about it because I resorted to Cheaty Peach strats alone. You know, maybe the case. Yeah, I think that that's all that stuff talked about there. What other things with the gameplay here? I guess there's the world itself. I was worried about, like, before this game came out, about it feeling too samey to Breath of the Wild, considering that, you know, this is the same world here. I feel like on actually playing it, that wasn't really a thought that I had in the back of my mind all that much. Despite so much of the landscape being similar stuff that I've seen before, much of the world was handled in ways that we haven't seen before. Like, you know, the stuff going on at Zora's Domain and all the crap coming from the sky. Death Mountain no longer being the super fiery volcano. It's all tame and stuff, but, you know, it's gonna be really crazy fiery underneath. And all that. There being all the snow in Rito Village until you got it melted again. And the crazy stuff with the Gibdos in Gerudo Town. It's like, okay, that's kind of interesting. You know, I found those kinds of things intriguing. Some of the new bosses in the world, like the fact that they slapped a Gleeok on this bridge, is like, okay, that was pretty cool, not gonna lie. That's actually pretty neat. And then, I do wish that I had a little bit more motivation for the Sky Islands. Like, you go to the sky here, and it's still mostly empty. You know, I feel like there could have been a lot more to a sky exploration. Maybe something a lot more like a Skyward Sword, where it's like, there's all these little islands everywhere, and trek to them and find all sorts of cool things. And there are all sorts of little archipelagos of bouncing around islands and stuff like that, which I could think were pretty fun. But, you know, they're very separate, they're very disconnected. There was never anything like this again. Like, when we saw the trailers and saw, you know, this really cool autumny Great Sky Island, I was thinking like, whoa, these are gonna be really cool to explore and, like, absolutely artistic beauties and stuff. Like, this was a really cool place. But there just isn't anything like that anywhere else in the world. Unless I just haven't gotten to it, but, you know, I doubt it. These other ones are pretty darn tiny, you know? There was just never anything like that ever again. This tutorial land was, you know, very much one of a kind. And it was the only place that we got to see stuff like we saw in the trailers for the sky. That really cool place. And it's like you do the tutorial there and then you don't really have any reason to go there again. Apart from maybe enhancing your battery or something. You know, or maybe hunting for Koroks. So, I do wish that there was more stuff like this. You know? I very much wish. Because this Great Sky Island, it was really cool. I liked it. Too bad it's one of a kind and that there wasn't more stuff like that. So, the skies were kind of neat, but I feel like they could have done a lot more with them. I would have loved exploring more stuff like this, where it's actual vast landscapes in the sky, instead of just tiny little island hopping. This would have been great. And it's something that I was definitely looking forward to before the game came out, and I was a little bit disappointed by here. Something that I wasn't expecting, though, is the depths. And that was pretty cool. That was pretty funky there. The fact that you can seamlessly go between these places, one, is really cool. Like, literally jump off of a sky island, go through a hole, and then all of a sudden you're in the depths. That's really neat. The connections between the surface and the depths, like all the shrines coinciding with light roots, and all the towns and stuff coinciding with mines, like that's pretty neat. It helps you plan things out. Exploring in the dark, I thought it was kind of like you have to manage your resources. I was using that glowy armor for a little while to just barely see in front of me, using bright bloom seeds and stuff like that. I thought it was something that I hadn't tried before, something that we hadn't really seen before in Breath of the Wild, apart from that one shrine that was in that spooky dark forest and you pull torches and stuff. That was all we really see of that kind of thing. So having this entire other landscape based around that and being like, yeah, this is a really tricky landscape to get around with a lot of really tough enemies. Figure it out. It's like, okay, I'm down. That's pretty cool. I like that. So yeah, there's still a lot to explore in the depths if I felt like doing it. There's a lot of cool treasures and stuff like that around. Yeah, I approve there. I did find it kind of stressful at times, running into walls that I'd climb up and it's like, can I not get over this at all? But then, once I realized that it's just, you know, stuff like this on the, overworld here, it's like, huh, I guess if I paid more attention to the map and realized this stuff here, I could have, you know, just figured out how I'd go around the walls, you know? So I guess there's a wall around this way as well then. Thought it was, kinda neat. Yeah. I thought that was cool, the connections there. I feel like it would have been cool if there was more really cool things to discover in the depths. But, you know, for the most part, it just mostly felt like, well, I guess there is cool things. Like, you know, some exclusive gear and stuff like that. I mean more so in this sense of like, whoa, what's that creature over there? Which I guess also happens sometimes. There's those frog dudos and also old bosses that are sometimes lurking in the depths. Like I saw that Colgera around, and now I guess the other bosses are around in here somewhere you can find. So I guess there is some cool stuff. It just, you know, when you're exploring the overworld, it's just like there's NPCs, there's shrines that you can take a little bit of a break from exploring by going in there and doing a puzzle and stuff like that. You know, stuff that brings a little bit more of a balance to the force here, you know, to your journey. Whereas in the depths, it just feels like going around and mostly snagging light roots and stuff there. You know, where there isn't as much to discover and do, like shrines and puzzles and stuff like that, you know? Is the way that felt. Would have been neat to see some more stuff like that, but you know, there's honestly not too much to complain about in terms of stuff to do in the world. Like, you can always just take a break from the depths, go back to the surface, and do some shrines, and, like, dip back and forth. You know, there isn't exactly a shortage of things to do in the world. I think my biggest complaint about the world is just, honestly, I wanted more stuff like this. That just isn't really around. You know, more like just very tiny puzzle islands with the occasional shrine, but never really cool, vast sky landscapes to explore. That's honestly my biggest complaint with the world. Apart from that, it was really cool. And with how much stuff there was to do here, especially with the addition of the depths, I feel like this took me a lot longer. You know, the Breath of the Wild playthrough, the finale part was part 100, and then we went until part like 120 as I was doing like more shrines, but the finale part was part 100 when I was taking my time with it and collecting a bunch of stuff and, you know, having fun with a bunch of glitches and all that. Whereas this series, as of last stream, it was part 102, so this stream would have started with part 103, and I don't know what part this is by now, but over 100. It's taken me, and if it's roughly around the same average length per part, this has taken me longer than Breath of the Wild, because there's more stuff to do. And if I had taken more of my time with it, it would have taken me even longer than that. Like, look at all these shrines that I marked that I could have done first, you know, that I might come back to do at some point. I just wanted to beat this game so I could take it at a more relaxed pace. You know, say like, it's beaten, it's done, I can focus on my other projects now, and then just play this when I feel like playing it for the fun of it and not because of an obligation to see a playthrough through, you know, would basically be the case there. So yeah, and now I can do that. I can have the freedom to do that. Maybe there might be some family and friends that might enjoy playing it at Fragapalooza. Maybe save some shrines around here for them to try out, mayhap, and stuff. But yeah, there was more stuff to do. It took me a little bit longer, and I did appreciate having more stuff to do instead of it just feeling like Breath of the Wild all over again, exact same amount of stuff to do. You know, I did appreciate that. The character profiles are pretty cool. I like the art with them. How compendium is same as always. I wish that I really wish, same with Breath of the Wild and same in this game, that when you were taking a photo for the compendium, that there was an option to just not save it to your album. Because as you're going around taking countless photos for the compendium, eventually your album gets full. You have to go and delete a whole bunch of things. You have to, if there's any ones that you actually want to keep, you have to be careful when you're selecting them a whole bunch to not accidentally select the one that you want to keep, including ones that are, you know, one-time thingamabobs, because, you know, beginning of the game stuff, you accidentally delete these, and sucks to suck, you're never getting them again, you know? And, I wish that they, handled that a little bit different there. Just give us the option to not save to the album the pictures that we're taking for the compendium. Not give us the option to delete actual one-time things there that you're never getting back in the save file if you accidentally delete them. And, maybe mark some things as favorite if you, don't want to accidentally have them be deleted. Something like that. Is there anything else here? Or have I mostly said my spiel? I like the changes to bullet time. Where it's like, you know, each just takes a notch of stamina rather than it slowly going down. I think that's cool. Oh, select the material to attach. Oh, I almost forgot to mention this. One of my biggest gameplay complaints. This. It's so awful. It's so bad. Oh wait, I didn't see the thing that I was looking for. Wait, I gotta go back. It must have been somewhere in there. Is it around there? Nope. Guess I'll keep on looking here. Where's the thing that I'm looking for? Absolutely, yeah, it should be a table. And you should be able to mark favorites. One, it should be a table, and two, you should be able to mark favorites. Those two things would have gone a long, long way. But yeah. I feel like the button mapping's pretty alright, but I'm also somebody that plays a lot of video games. You know, is the case. I'm pretty used to it at this point. But, you know, I know that everyone doesn't, feel the same. And Dark Force and Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, maybe. I wouldn't know. I don't actually remember where it is in the world, so, I wouldn't exactly know there. But yeah, I wish that you could also throw something without pulling out your weapon first. But yeah, the fact that it's like, want to throw something, Do this. Same with arrows. This is just so awful. Make it a table. Give the option for the player to mark favorites. And then they can just have their favorites as, like, the top thingamabobs here. You know? Why is there no favorites? I don't get it. Like, just mark as favorite here or something like that. And then it can quickly come up when the player is going to select. But nope. Nothing like that. Big sad. I like that it changes the towers. Being able to launch yourself out of them, interact with some stuff in the sky, and glide around. That's pretty cool. If only there was more stuff in the sky to do. It was like some more landscapes. Anything else that I'm missing here? Maybe? I could blame the game for me thinking that this was a dead end down here. Because again, I had gone in here previously. I trekked down here and I thought it was a dead end. And I just didn't look up and see that I could have kept going that way. If I had just realized, I could have, you know, tried out the final boss early for the fun of it. But I thought it was a dead end. I was like, huh, I'm surprised Ganondorf isn't down here. He was, and I was just blind. I could totally blame the game for that, like make it more obvious, but no, it was on me. Or they didn't make a table for fear of obscuring too much of the screen. Maybe. But I feel like if you've pulled out your bow or you're throwing, then you already have a target in mind. You're probably not pulling out your bow being like, just in case there's something over there I want to shoot. Because what if you need to turn your camera faster? I guess you turn at the same speed even with that. But typically, you know, have like a wider field of view, like mark a target, and then you start doing that, you know. Is the case. Rather than, or if you're playing like a shooting game, rather than holding this out the entire time, you're probably gonna want to mark your target first, and then start aiming. And then figuring out like precise aim. And then you can do stuff like that from there. So, I feel like obscuring too much of the screen isn't that big of a deal. Especially considering you already have to be aiming to select that anyway. Which means that you probably already have a target in mind. You know? And yeah, I don't think there's any toggle on the Z targeting. You have to actually hold it. This is the case. Yeah, is that basically my review? So, at the end of the day, I don't think it's perfect, and it came with a lot of the issues that I had with Breath of the Wild that are still the same. Some of the issues with Breath of the Wild were definitely fixed, though, for me. And, you know, all the stuff that this game has going for it, this was still a fantastic game. Like, even if I say, you know, here's all these things that I have as complaints with it, you know, they don't interfere too much with what is still, at the end of the day, a really just dang fine video game. Like, I look at that and it's like, wow, that is one fine video game right there. And, like, a really nice breath of fresh air in the wake of, you know, the way that the AAA gaming industry is nowadays, as I was mentioning earlier, of, you know, ship out now, fix it later, and, you know, there's so many games nowadays that also come out that feel so lacking for content, so that they can slowly trickle it out through either a season pass or games as a service kind of model. All these things that generate so much revenue. It feels so rare nowadays to have like a big AAA game come out where, you know, one, there's so much friggin' crazy mechanic stuff just in it that it, instead of adding things later, and two, just like, here's all this content, you know, like, you know, games used to be, you know, here's like a good cheeseburger worth of content, you know, and then now the AAA gaming space is like, oh, here's your buns and a patty for the base game price. If you want the condiments, if you want like ketchup, mustard, lettuce, tomato, if you want a drink on the side and some fries, that's all gonna be like separate purchases, maybe a bunch in, you know, a season pass. If you want the game to function, you're gonna have to wait for updates 1, 2, 3, 4, yada yada, stuff like that. Meanwhile, Tears of the Kingdom is just like, yeah, pay up front for the game. Here's like the freaking craziest stacked cheeseburger you've ever seen, with all the sides that you can imagine in whatever way you want to imagine them, as you make your own vehicles in whatever way you want. All sorts of drinks, all sorts of stuff like that, all packed into one game. It's like, holy crap! yeah, this really is a lot of bang for your buck, you know? Again, I'm not all too fond of, you know, the extra $10 cost, but if there's any game to do it with, it honestly does make sense for it to be this game. Like, one, it was basically done delaying it for an extra year just to make sure that works. It's like, wow, I respect that. And then two, just like, man, this is jam-packed with content and not needing any microtransactions to, you know, access any of that. You know, so again, much like Breath of the Wild, I have my fair share of complaints with it. But anyone that has a Nintendo Switch and would love just an adventure to sink their teeth into, I would absolutely recommend both Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. Like, like, these are both stellar video games, quite frankly. Oh, fantastic. I would love to keep on playing more of this, but it really is going to depend on what my schedule looks like. There's a lot of playthroughs that I've been meaning to get to that I really haven't had the time to, so I'm going to prioritize doing those. So, and that's why I kind of wanted to, you know, get to beating the game. I wanted to do all the main quests, like, do all the main things, showcase all of what this game has to offer, not just, you know, run to the end and beat it and that's it. And I feel like I've achieved that. I wouldn't go around doing, like, every single shrine. I just wanted to get to a point where I can say, like, yes, my playthrough is done here. I can do more if I feel like it. And that's what I did with Breath of the Wild. You know, we beat the game and then did, like, an additional 20 parts of going around doing shrines and fun things and stuff like that. And I said I was going to do all the shrines before Tears of the Kingdom came out, and I didn't get the chance to. So, whoops. Sometimes it be like that. So this time, I'm not going to make any promises like I'm going to eventually do all shrines. I'm just going to say I'm going to prioritize these other projects that I'm a bit behind on starting and I'd like to do. But if I have the time and I feel like doing it, this is one heck of a fun game. I could definitely see myself hopping into it and just doing some more shrines. Or maybe at Fragapalooza coming up here in a few weeks' time, if family or friends want to try out this game, because this is a fun game. It's a fun one to try out, and I brought it over to my cousin's place before for his because his older kid wanted to try it out, and we were playing a little bit of it together at one point of like building some vehicles and stuff like that and showing how it worked. And you know, he wanted to try out some of the weapon combinations and things that you could put on arrows, and I was like, yeah, I saved, so just use whatever material you want, and I can just reload the save and get fun trying that stuff out. And, you know, I'll probably lend him this game eventually. But, yeah, if I end up playing this with family and friends at Fragapalooza, you know, have that be part of the series, I can save some of the shrines over here for that purpose, potentially, in case anyone wants to hop in and try out the video game here. And then, yeah, maybe do a little bit more of the series that way. So, yeah, there is a, more likely than not, there will be some more of this playthrough. But, you know, there's a chance that's just like, yeah, time to do other projects. But, yeah. Let's see here. But yeah, this game's only rivals Final Fantasy 16 for Game of the Year. Yeah, probably. Probably is the case. What, you mean it's not gonna be Pikmin 4? I'm so hyped for Pikmin 4. It's gonna be so good. Comes out in what, like 8 days now? Oh, it's after midnight, so it's Friday right now. It comes out in exactly 1 week. We're 7 days away from Pikmin 4. I'm hyped. I love Pikmin. I'd vote for Pikmin for Game of the Year if Pikmin 4 turns out to be good, but, you know. It's not going to be a candidate, is the case. I think they're going to do with DLC. That was a good question, but I'm rather intrigued to see it. I know that during the most recent Nintendo Direct, a lot of people were like, what? They didn't announce the Tears of the Kingdom DLC already? Would have been way too soon. I'm so glad that they didn't. Like, give it some time. People need time to beat the game, like I evidently need it. Now that's beaten for me. But, you know, there's no shortage of main game content to do before DLC. I know that there's some people that have already done like all shrines, some people have already 100% of the game, and it's like, man, I can't even imagine having that kind of time anymore, you know? But generally speaking, for us old folk that are working jobs and don't have as much time as they used to, you know, don't just release DLC as fast as a Fire Emblem Engage did. You know, give us some time to catch up on these things. So I hope that they're taking their time with the DLC, which I imagine that they are. I absolutely imagine this game is gonna get DLC. I honestly think it would be very odd if it didn't after Breath of the Wild there. One thing that I will say about DLC for this game is I really hope that you can like max out both your hearts and stamina. In Breath of the Wild, in the main game, you had 3 hearts missing, assuming you had your stamina max. You would have 3 hearts missing. And then in DLC, you could get one more. And that was it. And you still have 2 missing from the maximum. And it's like, but why though? Why can't we just have both maxed by the end? I don't get it. And in this game, there's apparently, I believe, like 3 missing as well from hearts if you max up both stamina and hearts. So I do hope that for the sake of like feeling complete and like you've done it all and collected all the things and not having like the unsatisfying noticeable missing bit, I really hope that the DLC will make it so you can actually get all the thingamabobs there. Would be nice. Would be very quite nice. Just one other thing. The green Master Sword is pretty cool. I like it. I approve. Alright. I think my review's done. Would recommend. Definitely one of those video games that would recommend. I feel like if someone is looking for games to get into because they want like a gripping narrative and amazing soundtrack, these 2 games, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, probably aren't the games for you. You know, Age of Calamity is a bit more intriguing story-wise, I feel like, you know, expanding on what Breath of the Wild did and has a stellar soundtrack. But if we're just talking about Breath of the Wild and Age of Calamity, if someone's looking for games to play because they want an amazing narrative and a, you know, stellar soundtrack, I wouldn't recommend it. But anyone that's just looking for, like, an awesome adventure to sink their teeth into with crazy mechanics and a super high skill ceiling, honestly couldn't recommend it enough. It's great here. I usually don't really try to give things numerical scores because I feel like it abstracts a lot of details that would that you would be able to get from it. This was a discussion that I had with Sate Jam during the first podcast on the channel, where we actually did like a couple hour-long discussion on game review scores. And one of the things that we discussed there was maybe having different categories that we rate there. And you know, he had a few more specific categories than I did. But my general categories I rate games by are gameplay, soundtrack, story, and art style and stuff, / graphics, performance, all that stuff there. Those are my 4 things there. And it is worth noting that whenever I rate things out of 10, that's like 10 is absolute perfection. Like, or at least as close to perfection as something can realistically get. Like, absolutely out of this world stellar. You know, I feel like, unfortunately, with how big the game critic space is and how popularized it is, that a lot of people nowadays see numerical scores as 10, absolutely amazing, 9, like really amazing, really good, 8, great, 7, okay, 6, bad, 5, awful, and never mind anything less than that, you know. But if I give something a numerical score, it's not like that. Like, if I'm giving something like a 7, it's like, wow, that's really good. That's 70% of the way to, like, perfection there. Or if I give something like a 6, it's like, yeah, that's still really good. You know, so that's the way that I rate things numerically. Not like game critics there. But if I had to rate it, I would say gameplay 9, maybe 9.5, honestly. Like, there were a couple issues that I had with the gameplay, but man, so dang good. And the programming magic behind it, you know, can't go understated. It's mostly just like annoying things like this that keep it from being perfection in my mind. So gameplay, 9 or 9.5. You know what, I'll say 9.5. Sure. I'll be generous there. Music, 3. Something like that. Story, 4, maybe. Something like that. Art style and like graphics and cutscenes and stuff, 9, maybe 8.5. Reason why I'd say that is I feel like something that I should have mentioned during the review is there could have been like more of a presence of voice acting. Like the full animated cutscenes with the voice acting stuff, absolutely spectacular, amazing. But the you know, it was so weird during the dungeons how it's like, here's some lines that are voice acted, some that aren't. It's like, what determines it? And most of the game, even within the main story cutscenes not being voice acted, I feel like playing games like the recent Fire Emblem titles have like really spoiled me on how amazing persistent voice acting throughout the entire game really is. And now I'm really hooked on that, you know? So I wish that there was more of a presence of that. But yeah, 6 out of 10 means a mixed experience. Likely worth it, but with rough edges along the way. Yeah, that could be fair enough there. For me, 6 is still like, hey, pretty good. you know, not, you know, super crazy, but, you know, that's dang fine right there. But yeah, that's probably the way that I'd give the various aspects numerical scores there. Gameplay was amazing. The world is beautiful, as always. The game performance mostly alright. There were some frame drops when there was a lot of entities on screen. Just like Breath of the Wild, the aspects that I find it lacking the most is story and music. It's definitely the case. But I did enjoy both of those more than I did in Breath of the Wild. It is worth noting. I definitely enjoyed it a bit more here. Which, that's cool. That's nice there. It's 4 in the morning, I should go to bed. I think I've covered my bases and given my my full review here. So yeah, there's that. At the end of the day, despite a fair amount of complaints that I may have, it's a dang fine video game. If you want a good adventure to sink your teeth into, pick it up. I'd say maybe pick it up on sale if you're the kind of person that wants to look for things on sale, but knowing Nintendo, good luck ever finding this on sale. is the case. That's a dang fine video game. Definitely worth the price in my opinion. But yeah, like a full voice acting here is meant to cut costs on global localization and reduce data size. Maybe, I don't know. Would have been quite nice. After playing games like Fire Emblem Three Houses and even Engage to an extent, it's like, wow, I'm all about this full voice acting life now. And also after playing games like you know, after going between games like Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and then playing Fire Emblem Engage and getting like both extremes of the equation, I feel like when I played Tears of the Kingdom here, it felt like I was going back to like the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet side, with the occasional voice acting in the mix here. So not completely there, but you know, a lot closer to that side. Now it's leaving a sour taste in my mouth. Why do you have to do this to me, Pokemon? Why can't you just be good? Anyway, I'm gonna go get some sleep. I think that's everything that I wanted to say about this game. More likely than not, we'll come back for some more stuff. But might not be for a while. Who knows when it'll be? There's a chance that I might just not. But most likely, probably gonna come back and play some more of this game at some point. So, yeah. If we don't, then until the next Legend of Zelda adventure. Which, what would be the next Zelda game that I'd eventually play? We covered last summer we played Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask for our Zelda content last year. And then, you know, Tears of the Kingdom here was meant to be the Zelda content for this year here. I know that I eventually wanted to do Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. So, if we did just move on to another Zelda game for the next thingamabob, it would probably be one of those two. But, yeah, we'll see how things play out. We'll see how things go. So, until whatever the next Zelda thing is, or whatever other thing around here, take care, and see you, goodbye! I'm gonna go pass the heck out, because holy crap, am I tired. That was fun.